is entitled, Canto 4 is entitled, The Creation of the Fourth Order. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। यद्व्राजमानं स्वरुचैव सर्वतो यद्व्राजमानं स्वरुचैव सर्वतो यद्भ्राजमानं सरुचैव सर्वतो लोकास्त्रयो हि अनु विभ्राजन्त एते लोकास्त्रयो हि अनु विभ्राजन्त एते लोकास्त्रयो हि अनु विभ्राजन्त एते। यन्नाव्रजाञ्जन्तुषु जन्तुषु ये अनुग्रह ये अनुग्रह यन्नाव्रजान् जन्तुषु ये अनुग्रह यन्नाव्रजान् जन्तुषु ये अनुग्रह व्रजन्ति भद्राणि चरन्ति ये अनिशम् व्रजन्ति भद्राणि चरन्ति ये अनिशम् व्रजन्ति भद्राणि चरन्ति ये अनिशम्। यद्व्राजमानं स्वरुचैव सर्वतो लोकास्त्रयो हि अनु विभ्राजन्त एते यन्नाव्रजाञ्जन्तुषु ये अनुग्रह व्रजन्ति भद्राणि चरन्ति ये अनिशम्। यद्व्राजमानं सर्वचैव सर्वतो आस्त्रयो हि अनुविभ्राजन्त एते
यन्नाव्रजन्तुषु ये
यन्नावनाव्रजन्तुषु ये अनुग्रह व्रजन्ति भद्राणि चरन्ति ये निशम्। यद्भ्राजमानं स्वरुचैव सर्वतो लोकास्त्रयो हि अनुबिभ्राजन्त एते यन्नाव्रजन् जन्तुषु ये अननुग्रहा व्रजन्ति भद्राणि चरन्ति ये अनिशम्. Word for word. Yat, which planet? Prajamanam, illuminating. Swarucha, by self-effulgence. Eva, only. Sarvata, everywhere. Loka, planetary systems. Traya, three. He, certainly. Anu, thereupon. Vibhrajante, give off light. Ete, this. Yat, which planet? Na, not. Avrajan, have reached. Jantushu, to living entities. Ye, those who. Anugraha, not merciful. Vrajanti, reach. Bhadrani, welfare activities. Charanti, engage. Engage in. Ye, those who. Anisham, constantly. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The self-effulgent Vaikuntha planets, by whose illumination alone all the illuminating planets within this material world give off reflected light, cannot be reached by those who are not merciful to other living entities. Only persons who constantly engage in welfare activities for other living entities can reach the Vaikuntha planet. Purport. Here is a description of two aspects of the Vaikuntha planets. The first is that in the Vaikuntha sky, there is no need of the sun and the moon. This is confirmed by the Upanishads as well as Bhagavad Gita. न तद्भासयते सूर्यो न शशांको न पावक यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम. That supreme abode of mine is not illuminated by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never returns to this material world. That's a translation of that verse that we just sang. In the spiritual world, the Vaikuntha Lokas are themselves illuminated. There is therefore no need of sun, moon, or electric light. It is in fact the illumination of the Vaikuntha Lokas which is reflected in the material sky. Only by this reflection are the suns in the material universes illuminated. After the illumination of the sun, all the stars and moons are illuminated. In other words, all the luminaries in the material sky borrow illumination from Vaikuntha Lok. From this material world, however, people can be transferred to the Vaikuntha Lok if they informed only in Krishna consciousness. There is no philanthropic work within this material world, but Krishna consciousness that can engage a person 24 hours a day. A Krishna conscious being is always engaged in planning how to take all of suffering humanity back home, back to Godhead. Even if one is not successful in reclaiming all the fallen souls back to Godhead, still, because he is Krishna conscious, his path to Vaikuntha Lok is open. He personally becomes qualified to enter the Vaikuntha Lokas, and if anyone follows such a devotee, he also enters into Vaikuntha Lok. Others who engage in envious activities are known as karmis. Karmis are envious of one another. Simply for sense gratification, they can kill thousands of innocent animals. Gnanis are not as sinful as karmis, but they do not try to reclaim others back to Godhead. They perform austerities for their own liberation. Yogis are also engaged in self aggrandizement by trying to attain mystic powers. But devotees, Vaishnavas, who are servants of the Lord, come forward in the actual field of work in Krishna consciousness to reclaim fallen souls. Only Krishna conscious persons are eligible to enter into the spiritual world. That is clearly stated in this verse and is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, wherein the Lord says that there is no other dearer to him than those who preach the gospel of Bhagavad Gita to the world. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapad Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalitan Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरोभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त भक्तवृन्द गुरवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपास्तमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरो दिनतारिणं परमानन्दं माधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम् हरिर्नाम हरिर्नाम एव केवलं कलो नास्तेव नास्तेव गतिरन्यथा Lord Krishna says, Bhagavan Krishna says, there is no one as dear to me than those who preach the gospel of Bhagavad Gita to this world. And that shloka is 18.69. Please repeat. Nachastasmat manusheshu
तस्मात्
kaschinme priya kritama bhavita na cha me tasmat anya priyataro bhuvi. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dearer. So Bhagavan Krishna on the last chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, before concluding, only few verses before, he is sharing this amazing information that he loves those who engage in sharing about the gospel of Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada is sharing or using the word gospel or information about Krishna himself, how to love him, how to really get closer to him, and how to really know one's own self. This is an amazing verse. Prabhupada, as usual, does not leave any opportunity to share about Krishna. He's a person, his abode is a reality, this transcendental spiritual reality that we are all eligible to be there. We actually belong there, and somehow or the other, we have fallen here. That in this Mrityuloka, that everything is temporary and everything is um, kind of come to an existence, be there for some time temporarily, and then vanish their material existence and take another form, depending upon the karma or the due to the arrangement of the material nature. We'll read the translation one more time. The self-effulgent Vaikuntha planets, by whose illumination alone all the illuminating planets within this material world give off reflected light, cannot be reached by those who are not merciful to other living entities. Only those persons who constantly engage in welfare activities for other living entities can reach the Vaikuntha planet. So here, Srila Prabhupada in the first paragraph or first sentence, he highlights these two aspects of Vaikuntha planet. Which one is the first one? First one is that it doesn't need any kind of artificial light. It doesn't need any kind of artificial, it doesn't need sun or moon like our planet needs or material world needs. The Vaikuntha planets are self-effulgent. They don't require any other outside illumination. And the second one is that in connection with the self-illumination, it is also shared that according to scientific understanding, sun might be having helium to hydrogen or hydrogen to helium transformation, and the immense amount of heat is generated. That could be a fair explanation to understand what is going on materially. But according to our scriptural understanding, the sun is borrowing the light from Vaikuntha Lokas. It is a reflection from Vaikuntha Loka. Now, being in this material plane, as we all know, that there is no way to experience or measure anything spiritual with our material parameters. So, right now, right here, we might not be able to understand, but if we are so curious, then Krishna will reveal it one day that how actually the spiritual or the Vaikuntha Lokas illumination is helping or reflected to sun. But we have to hear or see by the ears, by the scriptures are the way we can see things by hearing. So this is a good example for all of us to really be in line with what scriptures are telling us or how the illumination of sun is coming from Vaikuntha Lok. So there are just theories that are, shared, but in reality, if someone asks us, how is this sun illuminating for so many years, then we can say it is actually because of the Vaikuntha Loka. That is the nice understanding, I think, would be, anything that is out there is in by the mercy of Krishna, by Krishna's actually making it happen. And the second thing is very nicely, Srila Prabhupada mentions that the from the material world, only those people are transferred to Vaikuntha Loka if they incessantly engage in welfare activities for all other living entities. Now, welfare is such a broad kind of word that anything that you do could be classified according to your own understanding as a welfare. If I'm giving somebody food, somebody some clothing, somebody some shelter, somebody some education, those are all considered quote unquote welfare. But what is the ultimate welfare? The ultimate welfare is that tell someone about their own individual identity, the real identity, which is you are not the body, your spirit, soul, you're part and parcel of Krishna, and you have a designated service ready, and actually you have left that service and you are here away from Krishna. the nice example or the story that we know, the billionaire's son that is lost, infant son that is lost and don't know where to go. So all the other individuals or those who have some compassion would go to this child and do so many other services, other activities. But if anyone who knows that child is belonging to this or this very wealthy person, if they just bring this child back to the father or mother, parents, the child will be taken care for the rest of the life. What is the ultimate welfare is, there are three things that are mentioned, that ultimate reality or the compassion, how we can develop by doing three things. First of all, Name Ruchi, Jive Daya, and Vaishnava Seva. This, if we do these three things, that will make us eligible for reaching Vaikuntha planet or the spiritual world. If we do these three things, then we are actually doing the ultimate welfare. How is that? Is you cannot save somebody unless you save yourself, right? Even in the flight, we are told put your mask first, then help the anyone else need the help. So Jive Daya Name Ruchi Vaishnava Seva. If you just continuously chant Krishna's name alone, and it can never happen, but if you are not merciful to the other living entities and you don't have any other seva engagement, then it is not perfect, it is not complete. Same way, only one aspect on its own is not recommended. It has to be in connection with the other two. When we have Namaruchi, then you are obviously, the effect of Namaruchi is, you are compassionate to the, you know, fellow living entities. And the Vaishnava Seva is our engagement, how to engage our senses into Krishna's service. Bhagavan says, Bhagavan Krishna says that those who claim to be my servant are actually not really my servant. Those who are servants of my servant are my servant, or they are the real servants of mine. So we need to engage in our, daily activity, how we can engage in Vaishnava Seva. So these are the three parameters for our spiritual life to gauge how we are doing in our spiritual life. How is our Namaruchi? How is our Vaishnava Seva? And Vaishnava Seva, Namruchi, and Jivedaya. How much compassionate, how much uh, we are feeling for others. Am I really concerned about anyone else? Now, this concept of compassion is very, very interesting. This is a somewhat a new age thing that people tell about. Be compassionate to yourself. Think, be, think about yourself. You're not thinking about yourself enough. That's why you're not happy. So, in the initial stage or the most rudimentary stage, we are only concerned about our own welfare, our own happiness. That is the most, animalistic, so to speak, that every living entity is self-preservation. I want to be happy. I want to be happy at any cost. I don't care about anyone else. That is the least that everyone thinks. Then the next stage is I'm concerned or I'm compassionate towards anyone who is connected to my body. So my family members who I gave birth, who are directly connected with my body, me and mine. So that's the next level. The level above that is maybe you are considering where you're from certain town that you consider yours, or certain country, certain state. But devotees are actually feeling compassion for everyone. So there are three types of compassion a devotee feels, that a devotee cultivates friendship with fellow devotees or fellow living entities. Then, then he considers or makes he is compassionate or feeling compassion towards those who are not devotees yet, or those who are not really, those who haven't really taken any spiritual path. So he or she feels compassionate towards, or arranges things in such a way that he or she can facilitate that journey towards Krishna, journey towards their spiritual life, beginning of their spiritual life. And the third thing is you become indifferent to those who are not in favor, or they are not respectful, they are not, valuing you. Which, that is very important, because those who are of a demoniac mentality, you cannot change them overnight. Of course, we see you know, the examples of Jagai Madhai and other living entities, that Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur are so merciful that seeing them, they think that, okay, if these two become devotees, then everyone else, or we can set up a nice example. But for, very insignificant devotee like me, I need to be indifferent to those whom I really cannot influence directly. So these are the three things that a compassion kind of brings upon one in one's behavior. That you be friendly to those who are, fellow devotees. You cultivate, some sort of relationship, a friendly relationship with those who are on the same path. You become compassionate towards those who are um, yet to begin their spiritual journey, or try to facilitate their spiritual journey. And those who are not interested in spiritual life, those who are, you cannot really help them in any way, you become indifferent to those. One becomes indifferent to those. Now, preparing for this class, I was listening to, there is a nice website called Srimad Bhagavatam classes.com or something like that. And I was listening to a few classes, and in that one, Sachinandan Maharaj was sharing that he spoke on this verse. Sachinandan Maharaj was sharing that he invited one couple from Germany to visit Mayapur, and the newly arrived guests uh, were given some tents to stay in. So after the morning program, the newly arrived couple, they were brought to two separate sets of tents, one for Mataji's, one for Prabhu's. And Sachinananda Maharaj was with Jayapataka Maharaj upstairs in his quarters. And after some time, he is seeing big flame of, fire that could reach up to the third floor of that building where he was staying. So he immediately went out and saw, and there was a fire with these tents that for the newly arrived guests. The tent was on fire, and they eventually found out that the reason was somebody, one of the security people, were smoking some BD or something. That kind of started this fire. So he took this couple, this couple, they were two separate places. They were resting because of the morning. They traveled in jet lag, but they rushed out of their, tents, and Maharaj went after to look after them and what happened, how. And he asked, I'm trying to be like Maharaj was trying to be funny, that he's saying, I'm very philosophical these days and I want to ask you a question. And the way Maharaj speaks is also very funny. So they were very frightened and very much, run for their life. And they were thankful to Krishna that, they're still, they survived and they are alive. But Maharaj was like, can you answer me? What were you feeling when you saw your tents burning? And they both were like, is this the right time to ask this question? Do you really have to answer? Do I really have to answer this question right now? We have to answer this question right now. So Maharaj understood right away and said, okay, we'll meet after 1 hour. So then they meet after 1 hour, Maharaj and this couple, and they said, the they were little more, calmer, and they started answering what they were feeling when they were seeing this tent burning. They're seeing their things that are being burned, or they are feeling. So first thing they they said was that they thought we were right. We should have never been here. Meaning we did not want to come to India and we came to India, and that was a mistake. I mean, that's their first reflection by seeing those fire. Second thing, the lady was saying, because she was in her night dress, she was wanting for some kind of a covering, or my, you know, to cover herself. And the third thing she mentioned about is her passport. That passport is also burnt. The man was saying, because he is so he is his eyeglasses were such a high number, he couldn't really see anything, and the glasses were burnt. So he's worried about his glasses and also passport and also a few other things. So Maharaj reflected, did you guys think about each other? Because you two were in two separate tents. While thinking about all these other things, did you think about each other? What would have happened to this other counterpart or other spouse? Did you think? And they both realized that that was not one of their few first thoughts. So the self-preservation, or making sure that I am alive, or I'm uh, thinking about myself, is or ego. Some Maharaj was bringing to that point, that we are connected to this body, and ego is so strong and powerful that it only allows us to think about ourselves. Such an amazing point, right? Like, we don't think about someone else. Only we think about someone else when we are at higher understanding, higher. We think about someone else's welfare only when we have our own needs are met, or I am fully satisfied, or I am thinking not just my own satisfaction. And as Vaisheshika Prabhu says very rightly, that sharing Krishna consciousness with others, going on book distribution or anything like that, is like, you have a cup and a saucer. You start pouring anything into the cup has to be fully filled, then only things will come out in the saucer. So sharing Krishna consciousness is like things outside in the saucer. Your cup has to be always filled. Then only it will become more effective. Then only it will be satisfying to you. If you yourself are not fully satisfied and deriving spiritual pleasure from this activity, you cannot really go on for a longer period of time. It is very important to engage ourselves into those activities that nourish us, even in spiritual life, what to speak of material life. People are getting uh, so much averse, or they don't like their job, but they continue to do it because they have to pay the bills. We have to pay the bills. So many of us, after certain period of time, we went for a engineering or some other study, and we are doing completely different because we really couldn't stand what we were doing. People always change the career, right? People always change the career for us to survival. But for those who really couldn't change and they really don't want to continue working, they only do it for one reason, that it pays the bills. If I had another opportunity, I would change it tomorrow. Like we hear all the time. Same way in the spiritual life, if we cannot derive the higher pleasure or higher understanding, we cannot go for a long time. So Maharaj's point was that our ego is so strong that we only think about ourselves, and we have to be going out of our comfort zone, out of our sense gratificatory uh, endeavors, to really be compassionate to others. But in other sense, if we look around and see this process as the magnanimity of this process, or the return on investment given by spiritual process, everything else is of a lower value, because anything that we do here is eternal. Anything that we do when we engage in spiritual life, it gives us the assurance that it is not lost ever. And on top of that, if we become sincere, if we get connected to the Guru Shishya Parampara, if we have an opportunity to practice this process as prescribed, chant 16 rounds minimum every day, four regulative principles, do Vaishnava Seva, Name Ruchi, Jive Daya, Vaishnava Seva, then, as Srila Prabhupada mentions here, that we are guaranteed. And only those who are not eligible, those who are not compassionate. And the current modern day, needless to say, how many animals, how many birds, how many other living entities we are, as humanity, as human race, we're inflicting so much of pain, so much of suffering to this, uh, innocent animals, birds, living entities, that just because of we are convinced that I want to eat some other animal's flesh. So those who are involved in such ghastly activities are absolutely not allowed in the spiritual realm. So first step towards spiritual journey, or the spiritual life, is to be compassionate towards others, to be able to feel the pain just on the material plane. The pain, you don't want to inflict a pain on anyone else that you yourself wouldn't want to go through. That is the beginning of being a human, as Srila Prabhupada mentions in so many cases, that meat eating is just not a regulative principle. It is the foremost necessity to be called as human, is not to have be involved in that activity. Otherwise, we are non-different from the four-legged or two-legged animal. So here in this verse, very wonderfully explained that compassion, we heard also from Yugal Kishore Prabhu several times, that in this material world, actually there is no compassion. What we feel is just some sentiment of compassion. Real compassion only comes when you become spiritual or bhakta or devotee. Because real compassion is to feel for those who are not engaged in Krishna's service. and that is everyone, those who are not on the path of spiritual life going towards Krishna. Again, this is a very wonderful verse. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and glorify Srimad Bhagavatam. I have absolutely no qualification to sit here and say, but in the sense of duty and service, I'm trying to serve our Shaman Krishna Prabhu was here, and I thought he was not here. That's why Prabhuji is giving class tomorrow. Wonderful. So thank you for confirming that. When I saw him, I said, Prabhu, you are here, and why? Then he said, I have service. So very happy to know that he'll be speaking tomorrow, and sorry for the, I thought he will be speaking and you all have to tolerate me. So please forgive me for my shortcomings. Thank you again for the opportunity to serve. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल. Any comments? Anything you want to share? Yes, Sandeep Prabhu.
You very rightly mentioned that the Graceable Prabhuji said that nowadays there is no compassion, but only sentiments of the compassion. Can you Prabhuji elaborate this?
Well, what I think what Prabhuji meant was that real compassion comes only after you start practicing bhakti. Or I don't know if Prabhuji is answering, Prabhuji is listening, he can chime in that when we say real compassion is not there in this material world, is because the society or dharma stands on four pillars: the truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, and austerity. Now, the only leg that is still there and decaying day by day is truthfulness. Mercy, austerity, and cleanliness are almost gone. So, yes, Prabhuji, you want to share something, Prabhu?
You're asking me?
Yeah, I quoted you that compassion in this material world is actually not there. We only have passion. I think something like that you shared.
I'm hearing that.
Yeah.
Actually,
So please share.
compassion is a quality that is, on the bhava stage.
Oh,
A
okay.
person who has attained bhava stage will have compassion. So, compassion, Prabhupada has compassion, so we don't have any compassion. So, we should become instrument of compassion of Srila Prabhupada. That's a line I heard actually. Okay.
Thank you. Sandeep Prabhu had a question and he wanted some more elaboration on that statement. So thank you for clarifying it, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll end here. Thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Premanand.